Early season baseball has taught us a lot of things. This year, it's taught us that you can't take games for granted, regardless of who they are. What early season baseball has taught us in the past is that sometimes there are people and there are players that give you glimpses of hope of what you can be. You know, Jake Brown has definitely done that. I think Stephen Milam, without a shadow of a doubt, again tonight, defensively, and guys, I even think offensively, has done that again tonight. But as you look through the season, now that you're coming out of non-conference play, and the next time that you will see the Tigers, it's in SEC play. You have seen glimpses of high-level baseball. You've seen glimpses of low-level baseball. Question becomes, over the next 30-game stretch for LSU in the SEC, what team's going to show up the most? Is it the team that we saw in Jacksonville? Is it the team that we saw in Game 1 versus Sacramento State? Or is it a team over the last week that we've seen? Now, tonight, you had situations where you could have folded up your tent and you could have gone home. You could have packed it back in. And I know it's against a opponent that arguably is not some of the better opponents that you'll see. But a true freshman made a move tonight, no more Cerna. Santiago Garcia made a move tonight on the mound because I know the radar gun was saying 92, 93 miles an hour, but my Jesus almighty, that had some heat on it. Is some of these glimpses from Devin Shearan going to continue to go into the weekend? Well, we start finding that out this weekend to see what we have. Nevertheless, we're live. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. It is Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You know, guys, you know who we are. Do us a favor, hit the like and share to all those groups. We're going to be doing post games because you know that. But do us a favor, hit the like and share to all those groups. If you're on Facebook, it's all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe. Every AYS Sports Show is brought to our good friends over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today. Use your mobile device in doing so. If you're in the great state of Missouri, you can also now download the FD Sportsbook app and place those bets if you would like to. I know that I set my preferences by going over to FanDuel.com/RG, and where it gives me all the details, I'm able to set my preferences of what I do and do not want to spend over the month. And because FanDuel is so great at utilizing and making sure that everybody is gambling responsibly, it's why a massive part that we have become partners with our good friends over at FanDuel. Again, download the FD Sportsbook app today. Use your mobile device in doing so. Who knows, we might have something for you in the near future with our good friends over at FanDuel. Sam Levitt, plus 1,250 to win the Heisman Trophy. Moved from 1,300. Must have had a little money sprinkled in on Sam Levitt, LSU's starting quarterback, to win the Heisman Trophy. If you want to place that bet, you can. All right. So there's a couple of ways to get involved in the show. I see a lot of people sending in super chats. I see Shaquan, Vin Daddy, Omar, the LSU Tiger, sending in super chats. You can send in super chats. We'll get to those at the end here, but we're going to run through this game, and you can send in your comments, thoughts, questions, and concerns. So let's get to it here. So Ricken, the true freshman, gets the start tonight and looked really good in his first inning. Gets a strikeout of Gump, and McHugh grounds out to Stephen Milam. Really good dig by Zach York, and you had a fly out to Seth Dardar into the outfield, into the shift. You go 1, 2, 3. You know, we've seen this from Ricken a couple of times where he comes into a game more into the midweek, but Ricken coming into a midweek performance and giving you one really, really, really good inning. We've seen that multiple times from him already this season. And then after getting out of that inning, things start to fall away from him. I do wonder for Ricken, who did get the start tonight, if we, as this season progresses, maybe we don't see him other than in the midweeks. Maybe we don't see him other than Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights, whenever you're going to play, mostly Tuesday nights. But if he can't in the SEC come in and give you an inning when needed, because we've seen him multiple times do some really special things, a 6'5" righty do some special things in an inning's worth of work. We've also seen a lot of freshmen do that, right? We've also seen a lot of freshmen who give you one really good inning, and then all of a sudden they come in as a true freshman into the second inning, and they're unable to put things together. And that's what happened to Ricken again tonight. This time being his first start. You know, when I say this, I don't want to compare Ricken to these guys because it's a very tough comp, especially with William Schmidt doing what he's doing right now. But I think of Cade Anderson, right? I think of William Schmidt in the very near past. And I think of last year, and I think of 2 years ago with Cade Anderson and William Schmidt, who have had that kind of arc to them and have had that arc where, yeah, they've had some really elite and really good, like, one innings. You're like, okay, you see why everybody's talking about him. You see why this guy had so much buzz coming out of high school. And I just wondered the path of what Ricken's going to be on. I thought the first inning for him tonight was really good. Getting Gump to strike out, who's a really good hitter. Getting McHugh to hit one really softly to Stephen Milam, and a really good play by Milam, a really good dig at first base by York. And then you get a fly ball into the shift exactly where you needed it to go, and you do exactly what it is that you need to do. Now, we will see the plan that Nate Yeskie and Jay Johnson have for Ricken, but I'm really intrigued to see what is the plan that they have for him. I will remind you, for Cade Anderson, for William Schmidt, you know, William Schmidt came in early into SEC play and was given the opportunity to do it, and it didn't work out for him, and right now he's looking very flawless. Cade Anderson gets his start versus Southeastern Louisiana and completely shoves. What is that arc that Ricken's going to go on? Because I think that he's got some really good stuff. I think that there's some things in there that I see that I think that he's got some special stuff. So first inning, really flawless. We've seen him do and give you one really good inning. Guys, to make a push in the SEC, to make a push in any playoff setting or regional setting or super regional setting, you sometimes just need a guy that can give you a flawless inning. And I wonder for this season if that is going to be his path. He has a really good start to the first inning. Bottom of the first, Derek Curiel grounds out to the shortstop into the shift right back up the middle. And let me say this. I tweeted this out. I thought Derek Curiel busted his ass on a ground ball. Normally, I'm not saying that he normally doesn't, because he normally does. Still under the weather. But I tweeted this out. From the very beginning, you could tell that it wasn't going to be an effort problem tonight. It really wasn't going to be. Even when Derek Curiel kind of set that tempo, when he hits a ground ball and he almost beats it out because he's busting his ass down the line. I love that stuff, man. I really do. It sets a tone, and it really gets some things rolling here. Bottom of the first, Jake Brown hits a line drive double into left field. Jake Brown, God bless it, man. He also had his ninth home run on the year. We'll talk about Jake Brown, but Jake Brown hitting a line drive into left field. I think the best thing that we've seen from Jake Brown this year. Now, look, Jake Brown is already tonight in playing Creighton has surpassed the home run total that he had a season ago. The big-time junior, the big-time lefty, has done a lot of big things, and I think everybody looks at Jake Brown's emergence this year and talks about, well, man, the power's been there, obviously hitting more home runs even before SEC play has been here, and he's doing a lot of big things, and the power hitting above 400. It's really taking hold, and everyone around the nation is seeing it. You know, the thing right now that I think is getting missed with Jake Brown, All right, stand by. Stand by for just a second. Stand by. All right. Let me repeat that. I was trying to watch the World Baseball Classic on my laptop, and it wasn't really doing it well. God, we're down 8-4. All right. So let me repeat that. So I think that, everything that we've been talking about with Jake Brown over the last month, ever since the season started, the power has been a big deal, right? Like the power has been such a massive deal when we look at Jake Brown. The power being such a big deal in the sense of that he's already surpassed his home run total from a season ago. We already know how massive of a deal that is. We look at not only the power and the hitting above 400 that's getting all of the national attention, but tonight Jake Brown led the game off for him at the plate with a line drive double to the opposite field and a line drive into left field. And I think for me, the emergence of the power, yes, something that we got to take hold, something we got to talk about, because obviously he's already surpassed his home run total from a year ago, and we haven't even hit SEC play. Like the likelihood of him getting to 15 to maybe even 18 home runs could be very likely here, depending on how far you go this season into the postseason. But the power is one thing. I think the thing that's getting the least talked about with Jake Brown is how well he's hitting the ball to the opposite field. I think that is something of his game that we have not seen a lot of. And now he's adding that into his arsenal, and not only adding just being able to take the ball the other way, but to take the ball the other way with a lot of power. A couple of nights ago, this past Friday, hitting his first home run in the left center field. Tonight, hitting a double down the left field line. That shows how mature of a hitter and how much development Jake Brown has been able to go through this offseason by not being so pull happy, by letting the ball get deep and taking the ball the other way. So, yes, is hitting above 400 a big deal? Is a lot of the things that Jake Brown does and has already shown that he can do a big deal? Is the power numbers a massive deal? Without a question, can't argue it. You and I both know how big it's been. But even tonight, and again, letting the ball get deep, seeing the ball deep, and taking the ball the other way, I think is something that we probably miss a lot, and something that I think has been unnoticed with him that I'm definitely paying attention to, and why Jake Brown is arguably the best player on your team right now. But he gets a line drive double into left field in the second inning. On a 3-2 count to Seth Dardar, Jake Brown also would have a stolen base to third. Seth Dardar on an 11-pitch at-bat would draw a walk, so really good at-bat by Seth Dardar. And then Stephen Milam, the most overrated shortstop in the country, would have a line drive double into right center field, and the Tigers would get their first run. Obviously, I'm just making a joke about what's been said about Stephen Milam over the last couple of days. Look, Stephen Milam, finally, one of the softest hit balls that he's had over the last couple of days, that one falls. You hit a ball to the wall. You hit a line drive in the left center field a couple of nights ago. You hit a line drive right at the third baseman that gets Jake Brown doubled up. And it's the softest ball that was hit tonight by Stephen Milam was the one that falls in for a hit. If the aliens come down, right? Aliens come down to Earth and they're asking you, explain baseball to me. And they're like, and you look at Stephen Milam and you say, hey, man, it's baseball. This guy's been hitting the ball very hard, but the softest hit ball that he had on the night was the one that gets a hit and scores a run. Incredibly insane to me that is what Stephen Milam at the current moment is going through. He's playing elite at shortstop, and I'm glad that he was the one, after what's happened over the last couple of days, that drives in the first run to break the tie here in the first. So really good at bat too by Stephen Milam. That would give you your first run. Zach York would fly out to the third baseman into the outfield. Stephen Milam, being a heads-up base runner, would advance to second base. Braun would be an intentionally walked, but Cerna would come up with the bases loaded in the first inning and strike out. Big spot there for you, man. Big spot for the freshman. And you know what's interesting about tonight's game is, and we'll go through this a little bit too, tonight's show is going to be very front-loaded in reference to the things that we talk about. Yeah, my guy speaking alien. I mean, Stefan, it's just the truth. The aliens come down and they start asking you, tell me about baseball. Stephen Milam is basically in a conundrum what you would tell the aliens about, like, what you're doing at the plate. Hey, man, this dude's hitting the ball really hard. One's 102 off the bat. One's 106 off the bat. One's 107 off the bat. All of them are outs. The one that's 92 off the bat tonight is a bloop single into center field, and it scores a run. So, Mr. Alien, I mean, that's welcome to baseball. Anyway, but Omar Cerna in the first. So tonight's show, we're going to talk about Omar Cerna here too. You had a big spot to blow this game wide open in the first. And really kind of, look, you got beat by Sac State. I mean, mega pause. You can't get beat by a team that's called Sac State. I mean, I'm not going to say what I want to say, but it's very pause worthy. Let's just say that. But Omar Cerna would strike out with the bases loaded. Guys, Omar Cerna is going to play a massive role for you on this team. And the more experience and the more things that he can go through, the better. And he made up for it later on. So I think Omar Cerna needs more chances. That is my opinion. Now, I think Cade Arambidi will continue to start and continue to play, but I want to see more of Omar Cerna. Can he work out some of these batting woes that he's had? We'll see. He was unable to do it in the first inning. Top of the second inning, this is where the wheels fell off. Okay, for you. You had a ground ball single right back up the middle, and then a pickoff move by Ricken forced an error, and the runner would advance, and then a weak ground ball into the four-hole. Seth Dardar was shaded right back up the middle, hit him where they're not, and then they would tie the game. But Ricken would give up a walk. You would bring in Dax Dathey. He would allow a walk. And that's just really where things started getting really bad. After Dathey, you would bring in Ethan Plog. Plog would give up a sac fly RBI into center field. You would have a sac bunt, which, by the way, we got to talk about, you would get bailed out on. So, look, we talked about Ricken earlier. He's done really good in one-inning stints, right? Really, really good in one-inning stints. And I just wonder what his role is going to be on this team. Because if you give me one inning, Ricken is somebody's name that I would talk about. After that, I don't really know. He hasn't shown to be able to sustain. But the errors are a problem. And the errors tied the game for you tonight. You give up a ground ball single right back up the middle. I know that they're doing, the 1-2 step. Shakira, hips don't lie at first base. I get he's jumping back and forth. Next time when you pick him off and he's jumping back and forth and he's doing the cha-cha slide when he's taking his lead, put one right in between his eyeballs. Right, throw the ball right at his ribs. Take his breath away for all I care. But you can't make an error. Play cat ball. Do whatever you got to do, but the ball can't get past. And let me just say this too. 2 times in the second inning, Zach York has got to get moving when these errors occur. He can't let Seth Dardar run these things down. Give me effort. Give me effort. Now, you have a runner that's advanced because of the error, and then a weak ground ball because of a shift. You give up a run. I mean, it's typical what's been happening at LSU. Big innings have been killing you. And I know it's something that we have not talked about a lot, but it's just the truth. You have these horrifically bad innings that everything falls off. I mean, we keep talking about the snowball effect, stop the bleeding, but guys, that is it. That is it. Is you can't find ways to stop the bleeding. Now you have the error, and then the ground ball into the 4-hole, into the away from the shift that scores a run. You can't walk guys after that. And it's what Ricken did, and it's what Dax Daffy did. So now you have the bases loaded, and Ethan Plug's got to come in an improbable situation. He gives up a sac fly in a center field, and then Creighton tries to lay down a bunt, which you got massively bailed out on. So when Creighton in the second inning tried to lay down the bunt, you had the runner's interference call on the review because Omar Cerna fielded it and threw it right into his back. Now, I thought the call was the right one, even though I disagree with Ronnie Rance on the call, who said he didn't think it happened, and Lynn. I think that they were wrong there. Clearly, the umpires agreed. But you got bailed out. So a run came off the board. But let me throw something your way. I got to tell you something that bothers me a little bit here. Go back and watch that error. When Omar Cerna throws on the sac bunt, he throws the ball down the first base and hits the runner in the back. Zach York stands there, and he taps his glove. Go after the baseball. Go after the baseball. A lack of effort bothers me because that is a lack of effort. I have defended more than most. I have defended York more than anybody, but I don't like lacks of effort. It is the thing that drives me the most insane. It drives me so insane. Run after the ball when an error is committed on both accounts. But you got bailed out because you had a runner's interference. Cerna throws them in the back. Can't have those situations, man. But you got massively bailed out there. You're not going to get bailed out again. It was kind of like deja vu all over again from a couple of games ago. All over again. Can't happen. But you get bailed out. Gum would come up to the one-hole hitter and hit a line drive to Stephen Milam, which he dove and made a ridiculous play on. Look, man, Stephen Milam, say what you want about him right now. I know that there's a lot going around from a social media standpoint in reference to Stephen Milam. Overrated, or he's not doing good at the plate, whatever you want to say about Stephen Milam. Regardless of what you want to say about Stephen Milam, is defensively, he's been elite. And I don't like throwing words around like that lightly. He has been utterly elite. At the plate, like I can look at 2 games ago where he's hitting the ball to the wall. He's hitting a line drive into left field. He's hitting one right back up the middle and hits the pitcher's foot at 102 miles an hour. I think some of these things at him on the plate is some bad luck because he's still hitting the ball hard. I think eventually as the season goes on, those things are going to start falling. I think, quite frankly, Stephen Milam's fine. I think he's had really good at-bats. Tonight he had a line drive to the third baseman, 100-plus miles an hour off the bat. What do you want him to do? It's a really good hit. It's a really good at-bat. He sees the ball deep, takes the ball the other way. But the truth of the matter is that regardless of what's going on at the plate, regardless, defensively, what he's doing at short is arguably some of the most elite defensive play that we've seen around the country. Like I was watching USM and Ole Miss tonight. USM walks off Ole Miss. They had a lot of big-time defensive plays there, not more than what Stephen Milam's had. I was watching Tulane, who was beating Mississippi State earlier tonight. Some of the elite defensive plays that were happening in that game, none more than Stephen Milam tonight. So I know that there's been a lot of things said in reference to Stephen Milam over the last couple of days. The truth of the matter is, guys, I don't like throwing these words around. I think borderline to some extent, some of the play that we've seen from him defensively for sure has been elite. And I think at the plate, he's had a lot of bad luck. And welcome to baseball. I talked about earlier aliens coming down, and, if aliens ever came down to earth and they say, hey, Mr. Blake, explain baseball to me, I would use Stephen Milam as the example. This dude's a really good player. He's been a really good player. He will continue to be a really good player. He's hitting the ball really hard. It's right at people. At some point, that's not going to continue to happen if he continues to stay within himself, if he continues to stay inside his approach. And then tonight he gets an RBI single to break the scoring drought open. So I know there's been a lot made about Stephen Milam. I don't remotely come close to falling into that camp and saying that I think, number one, he's overrated. But I think Stephen Milam has been fantastic for you this season. So a really good play by him to get out of the inning. Bottom of the second, Reeves would fly out to the left fielder. Caraway would get hit by a pitch. Curiel would hit a line drive single into right field, but an error on the center fielder would get Derek Curiel to second base. And you got runners on second and third with one out. Oh, sweet Jesus. All right. Here's where I almost flashed out tonight. Let me blow my nose. Pause. So we're going to take this scenario in the context that it needs to be in. The context that you and I are talking about this in comes in the bottom of the second inning. You had a hit by pitch of Trent Caraway. You had a line drive single by Stephen Milam, and an error advances them to second and third. You could have blown this game open yet again, but then in the bottom of the second, Jake Brown and Seth Dardar would strike out. Guys, if there is an inning tonight, if there is 2 innings tonight that encompasses what your struggles have been, it's the first inning leaving the bases loaded, and it's the second inning when you have one out with runners on second and third, you got ducks on the pond, and you're unable to get anybody home. You want to know what's been your struggle? Leaving 5 guys left on base in 2 innings is almost the worst thing that you can do. Literally. The only thing that would have masked it is if the bases loaded were again in the second inning. Those have been your struggles. Now, later on in the game, you would overcome that. But want to know why you're struggling? That's why you're struggling. You're not coming away with the big hit when you need it. And I did. You can't see it. I broke my computer over it. I broke my computer over it because it is frustrating. So this is the way that I see this team. I still think you're a really good team. You're leaving too many guys on to not. Again, it's such a wild way to explain it. You have been fine until you've needed to get the critical hit. You haven't been clutch. You haven't been clutch earlier in this season. You were in Jacksonville. You were tonight. But collectively speaking, in the bad stretch that you had, you haven't been. And in the first and second inning, that is specifically how that went down and why everybody was getting frustrated and why you should have been frustrated. Jake Brown and Seth Dardar got to put the ball in play. Jake Brown's got to get the ball on the ground to the right side of the infield to get another run. Bottom line. But it doesn't happen. Plog comes into the top of the third. He gets a strikeout, but back-to-back walks, and then he hits a batter, which would get the bases loaded. Sucks, man. Again, some of these guys getting one big inning and then the wheels falling off. That, again, has been your problem. I got to give Maverick Rizzi credit. I mean, I thought he did a good enough job, but you had the bases loaded with one out, and he gives up a ground ball single right back up the middle and 2 runs score. I mean, it is walks and hit batsmen and guys not being able to overcome other than an inning pitch has been a problem for you. And if it continues, will continue to be a problem for you. So you give up 2 runs in the third, and you would give up the lead, and you would give up the tie there as well. Look, man, we're going to run through some of these really quickly. You went through a couple of innings where you continued to struggle. The bottom of the third, you got a base hit line drive by York, but a strikeout by Braun and a ground ball by Cerna would get you out of the inning. Bottom of the fourth, Reeves would have a lob single, but you would have a lob single, but on a wild pitch, he would advance. Caraway would hit a ball right back up the middle, but they're shaded up the middle. On an advancement on that from Caraway, Derek Curiel would hit a ground ball right back to the pitcher. He would hold the runner. Okay. He would hold the runner at third and get the out at first, so the run does not score. And then Jake Brown hits a ball to second base, which an error occurs, and you do get a run there. So even then, guys, 2 innings where you're getting runners on and you can't get them in. So, yes, you scored a run in the first inning, but I got the first inning where you leave 3 guys on. I have the second inning where you leave 2 guys on. I got the third inning where you leave a guy on. I got the fourth inning where you leave a guy on. It just can't continue to happen. So everyone wants to talk about the struggles. Everyone wants to talk about what's going on with the team. That is it. Like, that has been the problem. So the early part of this game, until you get into the bottom of the 5th inning, every single inning, the biggest problem that you had was that you were leaving too many guys on base. That's it. You're not coming up with a clutch hit or playing small ball or doing what you need to do. You have Jake Brown that's up, and Jake Brown's one of the best players in the SEC, if not the country. So this isn't to talk about Jake Brown. Can't get a ball down on the ground on the right side to get a run in. You have the bases loaded. You swing at 3 pitches outside the strike zone. You can't get a run in. That has just been the crux of your problem. You would come out of it in the 5th inning. So when we're all getting frustrated, God bless it, are we going to lose another midweek game? You needed an error to force your second run, which hit it on. I mean, look, put the ball in play and things may happen. And it did. And it did. And it kind of, for whatever reason, kind of got you out of that slump a little bit. Because you come into the 5th inning, you start the bottom of the 5th. Stephen Milam gets hit by a pitch. York hits a line drive into center field. Eddie Yaman would pitch it for Braun, and he would get hit by a pitch and bases are loaded. So now you've had runners on in each inning, and you've only been able to get 1 run. When are you going to break through? And during the game, I tweeted this. Omar Cerna came up earlier in the game and the bases were loaded. Can he learn from the earlier at-bat and see a good pitch and drive it? And he did. The true freshman out of the great state of Texas sees a fastball over the heart of the plate, and he hits it 450-plus feet. And LSU would bust this thing wide open. I feel as if that the situation with Jake Brown in the air sparked some of the really good at-bats that you had. The best inning that you had, by far the best inning that you had, and the best, I want to say this, the best inning at the plate outside of the Friday from Sacramento State, the best inning that you've had over the last 2 weeks, other than that game this past Friday, came tonight in the 5th. You got hit by a pitch. You had a line drive single. You had Eddie Yaman that saw pitches and then got hit by a pitch. And then Omar Cerna comes up and hits a grand slam. And here's the truth. When you have young players like Omar Cerna, who on the first inning has the bases loaded and is unable to perform, the question always is, with these young, extremely talented players, how quickly are you going to learn? How quickly are you going to be able to take lessons that you learned throughout the season and then apply them to be able to help your team when you're in the lineup? Tonight, Omar Cerna was able to do that, did do that, and overcame that and busted the game wide open for you to get the win tonight versus Creighton. So that, to me, more than hitting the ball 450 feet, more than hitting his first home run, and thank God he hit his first home run because it came in a very clutch and critical moment. The thing for me with Omar Cerna tonight, and why I hope that he continues to do some of these things, and we are gonna continue to see the very talented freshman behind the plate. It's that you were able to take the same exact situation that you had in the bottom of the first, and then when you had the same exact situation, down more runs, because you weren't down in the first inning, but you're down more runs in a critical spot, you're able to see a fastball and drive it out of the park. It is beautiful to see a very young player developing right in front of our eyes to say, hey, man, it happened to him in the first. He learned from it, saw a pitch that he can handle, and sent that bitch to outer space. Speaking of aliens, I was told that some of the aliens saw it in outer space. And then there goes Omar Cerna's home run. Brilliant stuff by him. We're going to see a lot more of them, and it's going to be really good. Look, I thought Maverick Rizzi was really good tonight. Had a fly out, a ground out in the fourth, gave up a ground ball single again, shift being a problem. And then Derek Curiel made a ridiculous play in center field along the warning track, diving along the warning track that saved a run in a critical moment for you. Derek Curiel has been special over the last 2 weeks. You know, I saw a comment in the chat earlier. It was like, oh, well, one guy's hitting the ball hard. Yeah, true. But Derek Curiel's last 2 weeks, so this is what I'd say about Derek Curiel. We all know from LSU baseball perspective, it has not been pretty the last 2 weeks. You can't really say that about Derek Curiel. You know, there's only one time I looked at Derek and the situation was like, could have played that one a little bit better. But Derek Curiel's going off the last 2 weeks. He is flat going off. The guy that everybody anticipates is going to be a first rounder has gone off. And it's not just at the plate. Everybody knows about the bat to ball skills. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that arguably from a bat to ball skill standpoint, he's probably the most elite guy in college athletics. I mean, it's not really a debate. We all know that. That's who he is. The plays that Curiel has been making, whether it was against Sacramento State this past weekend, whether it's tonight, saving a run while you're down, Rizzi gives up a single, then you have a massive diving catch by Derek Curiel on the warning track, not caring about life or limb, giving up everything for his team. Guys, that shit is contagious. And I think about Derek Curiel's first at bat tonight. He hits a weak ground ball right back up the middle. And he's busting his ever-living ass to try to beat it out. Tonight, you're down 4-1. You're down. And Maverick Rizzi gives up a single and then almost gives up a double that would have scored a run if not for Derek Curiel tracking the ball down like he's vintage Jerry Rice in San Francisco, tracking the thing down and making a ridiculous play in center field. So, yes, has the last 2 weeks sucked for you as a team collectively? Sure. Has Derek Curiel gone off on and off the field at the plate? Yes. I mean, give Bo Curiel a treat, for crying out loud, because everybody deserves their flowers. Elite stuff from Derek Curiel over the last 2 weeks. Glad to see it is happening. So you had a really good bottom of the fourth, or top of the fourth. Top of the fifth, Shearan would come in. He'd give up a line drive single, then a stolen base, and an error by Omar Cerna. So you give up a line drive, you have a stolen base, and an error. You have no outs with a runner on third. No outs with a runner on third. Shearan would get a strikeout, back-to-back, strikeouts looking, and then we get a weak ground ball to Stephen Milam, and you're out of the inning. Clutch. Devin Shearan's performance tonight was saying, listen, I'm not going to allow that Rudy Poo situation affect me. And Omar Cerna would make up for it in the fifth. He'd make up for it with that massive grand slam. Want to see more of Devin Shearan on the weekends, man. I do. I know the last time we saw him outside of tonight, didn't have a good game. That shit's just going to happen. That shit 1,000% is going to happen. But Devin Shearan, absolutely electric in the fifth inning. We talked about the bottom of the fifth, elite stuff. It's when you finally came out of it. Can you continue to put some of those great things together will be the question. Devin Shearan in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Devin Shearan in five guys that he faced tonight, he had 4 Ks. Want to see more of the big fella. So top of the 6, he had his third and fourth strikeout coming off of the 1 and 2 that he had in the fifth, coming off of the massive grand slam by Omar Cerna, who was electric tonight. And look, you take a lead and you go 1, 2, 3. It was a clutch inning in the 6th by Devin Shearan. You would go 1, 2, 3 in the bottom of the 6th. This is baseball. Like the bottom of the 6th is baseball. Brown would walk and then advance on a wild pitch. Seth Dardar would hit a line drive into left field, and then Stephen Milam would hit a line drive to the third baseman where Brown would get doubled up at second. What do you want me to say about that? That's tough. That's tough. That's a tough situation. So, yes, you would go 1, 2, 3, but Jesus almighty. I mean, that sucks. Yes, you didn't score a run. Yes, it wasn't a massive inning for you. But if I would have told you you would have had a walk and 2 line drives, hard hit baseballs, you would have 1,000% have taken it. Top of the 7th, Shearan would hit a batter and then get a ground ball to himself, and then he would allow a walk, and that would be the end of his night. The man of the hour that we need to talk about was in the top of the 7th with 1 out and 2 on. Santiago Garcia would come in while you were up 6-4. And I know that there was a really interesting situation on Santiago Garcia's first at-bat where a guy leaned into it. It was reviewed. They would wind up calling him out, saying the pitch was a strike. Absolute craziness. The thing with Santiago Garcia for me tonight, I know the radar gun for Santiago Garcia was saying that he was around 92, 93 with his fastball. It did not seem 92, 93. It played and sounded to me a lot harder than that. Santiago Garcia showed some serious flashes tonight and showed a lot of really good stuff. Having a long delay with 2 runners on and 2 out, or 1 out. Potentially you could add 3 runners on with 1 out and a long delay. My man was on one tonight, man. He was locked in and focused. Getting back-to-back strikeouts to get you out of the inning in the top of the 7th when you hit a batter and you walk the guy and he comes in and he flat out deals. Again, say it's 92, say guys in the SEC will hit it. It didn't play like that tonight. He was on one. He was on one. Remember in the movie Space Jam where Michael gives the Gatorade bottle and he passes it around to Bugs Bunny and the gang, and it's Michael Jordan's secret stuff? Santiago Garcia must have drank some of that tonight because he was on one and it massively. And it showed when he came in the 7th inning and completely dealed. But we'll get to Santiago Garcia more a little bit here in just a moment. Bottom of the 7th, Zach York gets hit by a pitch and a line drive by Eddie Yaman down the left field line. But York would be thrown out at third. I don't mind the aggressiveness. I don't mind it. I do kind of mind it because, in some extent, because you could have gotten some more runs there. I don't really mind the aggressiveness. Big fella's got to know how fast and or slow he is. The reason it's not such a massive deal is because you wouldn't have done anything with it anyway. Let's talk about Eddie Yaman. So the question that I've been asking myself over the last couple of days is basically when Eddie Yaman came in versus a couple of weeks ago, I think it was Magnese. Yeah, it was Magnese. He hits a home run in that one. And we've kind of seen some emergences here and there from Eddie Yaman. I want to see a little bit more of Eddie Yaman. I do. Give him some situational at-bats. Give him some situational stuff. And if he continues to perform, man, let him roll. Eddie's done some things where he's performed when given the opportunity to perform. And I know that the locker room, it gets really ignited when Eddie Yaman does something good. Let's see what he can do. He might just be a situational hitter for you. Lefty comes out of the pen, you go and get Eddie Yaman, and I'm okay with that for right now. But he gets on base at a very high level. He's done some really good things when he's been given his opportunity. Tonight he gets a line drive double down the left field line. Can he continue to do that? SEC plays a different beast, and we're going to find out if he can. That is for sure. But in the bottom of the seventh, Cerna would walk, so you got runners on first and second, and Chris Stanfield. So, Chris, we've gone this entire show, and we haven't talked about Chris Stanfield. So, John Eads of WAFB tweeted today that he going to the ballpark, he heard that Chris Stanfield may be making an appearance, and he did. Chris Stanfield came in as a runner for Eddie Yaman. Excuse me, not Eddie Yaman. Who did Chris Stanfield come in for? Reeves. When Reeves walked earlier in the game. So when Reeves walked earlier in the game, Eddie Yaman came in as a pitch runner. Good to see Chris Stanfield back. I'm sure that they're going to kind of ease him along back into this thing. But defensively, you take a massive step with Chris Stanfield being back. He does come to the plate tonight, looked really uncomfortable at the plate. Everyone can understand why. He struck out in his plate appearance. Give him a couple weeks. Don't look. The worst thing we can do with Chris Stanfield right now is that he starts and struggles and everybody wants him out for whatever reason. Give him a couple weeks because he's been out when everybody else has been able to take reps. You can't replace Chris Stanfield in left defensively. Regardless of what you think, Chris Stanfield's going to play a massive role, even if he doesn't start games, because he's going to come in as a defense replacement at best later on in games. Good to see Chris Stanfield back. He is one of the biggest hearts and souls of your team, and I'm glad to see Chris Stanfield's back. So he's going to be a massive factor for you. Does he start Friday night in left field? Will be the question. We'll see how Jay continues to play this one out. All right, let's get to the bottom of the eighth here. Top of the eighth here. Santiago Garcia, man, absolutely ridiculous. He gets his third strikeout of the game to Belargian. He gives up a bloop double. I've never seen that a day in my life. High fly ball in just a dead spot. Guy was busting his ass outside of the batter's box, and he gets a double on a pop five bloop that's just in no man's land. Okay, sounds good. He gave up a hit. Gave up a double, but who gives a Rudy Poo? I mean, my goodness. But he gets his third straight strikeout, a bloop double that was just ridiculous in no man's land. Gets a fly out into left field and gets gumped to strike out. So 4 Ks in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4 Ks and 6 batters. Ridiculous. He was on one tonight. We're going to get to Garcia in just a moment. Bottom of the eighth, Curiel would walk, and then Brown would hit a home run in the right center field to widen that gap. Again, I don't know what you want me to say about Jake Brown, man. Best player on your team, one of the best players in the SEC, if not the country. Again, I said what I said earlier. I think him driving the ball the other way is a big deal. Him with the power is a big deal. Best player on your team right now, man, without question. All right, as we wrap it up here. Top of the ninth, Garcia goes 1-2-3, gets 2 ground balls, 1 to Milam, 1 to himself, and a fly out into right field, and you would end it. So let's talk about Santiago Garcia. Look, I think the biggest I think guys tonight, there were some guys tonight that did some really good stuff. Obviously, Jake Brown, obviously Omar Cerna doing what he did. Those are big flashpoints. You already knew what kind of Jake Brown can do. You'd been hearing about the power of Omar Cerna, and he definitely showed it. We'll continue to see the progression of Omar Cerna. Tonight's game goes to Santiago Garcia. Santiago Garcia came in a clutch situation in a game when you had been struggling over the last 2 weeks and really set people up or had people up, sat people down. Santiago Garcia has shown a lot of really good flashes. I thought his fastball was playing higher than 92, 93 miles an hour. He was locating his fastball wherever he wanted, was locating his off-speed stuff wherever he wanted. Guys, left-handed pitching is a dime a dozen. If you have a lot of really good left-handed pitching, you can do some amazing stuff. I want to continue to see this emergence from Santiago Garcia. Kind of started off a little slow to start the season, but tonight's performance was absolutely ridiculous in a good way. You knew coming out of Oregon, Santiago Garcia could do a lot of really good things for you. Going into the portal and grabbing him, a former teammate of Stephen Milam, you know that there was a lot that he could do. Tonight, he showed you a glimpse of what he can be moving forward. Again, started off slow, but my goodness, he was fantastic tonight along with Devin Shearan. And this bullpen's going to have to continue to come together because now you're in SEC play. So we'll see. All right. What's going on in the World Baseball Classic? Anything worth a shit? Did we lose? Not good, man. You could be out of pool play. Not good, man. Not good at all. What's happening with them? Yeah, they lost 8-6. Not good, man. Really, really, really don't need Mexico to win. So we'll see. All right, let's get to these super chats here before we get out of here. Omar the Tiger with a $5 super chat says, Game 1, Kaysen Evans and Gavin Guidry. Game 2, Moore and Shearan. And then Game 3, Schmidt, Newton, Garcia. Fire, sweep. I wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't hate that at all. I think that's really tough to beat. Do your sticks come alive? Guys, we'll talk about this a lot tomorrow. But man, it's here now. You know, it reminds me of Game of Thrones. Winter's here. Winter is here. SEC play is here. The bloodbath that you're about to go through is going to be insane because you're going against a lot of really freaking good teams. And it starts with Vandy. It starts with you going into Nashville and figuring this thing out. Can the bats stay hot? Can they figure it out? What does your starting pitching look like? Now you put your big boy britches on. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. Obviously, you'll do those things depending on how the weekend goes, but if it plays out like that, I wouldn't hate it at all. Shaquan says, a $2 super chat says, really liked what I've seen out of Garcia. Completely agree with you, brother. Looked great tonight. Definitely probably will see him on a Sunday. Late Saturday, or late Saturday, late Sunday. We'll definitely see him again. That's for damn sure. But he looked really, really good tonight. Shaquan also says, was he out at third 100% York's fault? Jay didn't look too happy about that one. SEC play, here we come. I think so, because the ball's in front of him. He's got to make that decision. He's got to know his own speed or lack thereof. So when the ball's hit in front of you, yeah, I think that, I would have to be told otherwise, but normally speaking, yeah, that would be on him. Because the ball's in front of him. I mean, he can see it. It is a really good throw by the left fielder, but not a difficult one. And you got to know your speed. Anybody else in that team makes that, tries to run at third, they're there. He's got to know. You can't run into outs, especially. You can't have your first and third out at third. Can't happen. So, yeah, I do think that's a little bit on him, Shaquan. He also says, does Shaquan, when do you find out media availability for spring football, or how does that work? I've already mentioned it. My bad. I hadn't seen. I have not mentioned it. We don't know. We all kind of have our ideas. I've been asking questions around it, but nothing official. Yep, nothing official. We'll see. I don't expect it to be as the high level of availability that we got from Brian Kelly. I don't expect that. So now we're going to find out who's got the real sources. I do find it funny that when we didn't have practices and players that we were talking about going off, we're going to find out who's really got who really talks to the right people, because everybody can have sources. It's are you talking to the right people? We're going to find out who in this media corps got it. I'm going to promise you that right now. Shaquan with a $5 super chat says, before the Grand Slam, though, I honestly was worried again. Still a lot to clean up. Oh, there's still a whole lot of cleanup. Look, winning covers a multitude of sins. You didn't look great tonight. I mean, it's just the truth. You did not look great tonight in anything that, I don't want to say anything that you did, but you didn't look great tonight. But winning will cover up a multitude of sins. There is a lot to clean up. Completely agree with you. Can't continue to leave that many runners on base. You can't do it. You do that in the SEC, you're going to lose. That is a bottom line. So completely agree with you there. Slick Kicks with a $5 super chat says half of the guys looked like they had no approach to the plate, just going up there guessing. I would say in the first 5 innings, you would be correct with that. First 5 innings, I completely agree with you. In last 2 weeks, I'd agree with you. They're guessing instead of reacting. Sit on the hard stuff, react to the soft stuff. But yes, I agree. Got to get better there. Got to get better. Spec Man, our good man, with a $200 super chat. I'm going to buy a chair now. He says, Blake, get a new chair fund. Yeah, y'all see me always doing this. I've had this chair since 2017. It's probably time for a new chair. I sent Spec Man some gear because he's some merch. Yes, y'all need to go over to the merch store, by the way. My Shopify, AYS Sports Network. Spec Man's been a big deal for the growth of AYS. Can't thank him enough, man. I really, 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 really can. Thank you, Spec Man. So he says he's gonna be, at an LSU game wearing our merch. I love it, man. I freaking love it. Be sending him some more too. Thank you, Spec Man. I will go buy a new chair tomorrow, or I'll do it within the week. Kids are out of school tomorrow for whatever reason. Vin Daddy with a $5, but Spec Man, thank you, man. Thank you for the support. It really does mean the world to me. Really, really, really does mean the world to me. Vin Daddy with a $5 super chat says, Cerna with the Barna, downtown Jake Brown, and Stanny getting back in. Fun game. Kept me up past my bedtime. Hashtag go Tigers. Me too. Guys, it's 11:30 on a Tuesday, and we're still live. It's 11:30 on a Tuesday, and we're still live, man. Name another person in this media corps that would be live with you at 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on a weekday. I don't know many. Speaking of that, we're out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Peace.